Ambassador Mwamba exposes Davies Mwila's shocking remarks against given Lubinda of Zambia politics. Breaking news in Zambian politics has everyone talking. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba just dropped a bombshell statement that's sending shockwaves through the political landscape. What did Honorable Davies Mwila say about given Lubinda that crossed the line? And why is this being called unacceptable by one of Zambia's most respected diplomats? In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what happened, why this matters for Zambia's political future, and what this means for unity in our nation. But first, you need to hear what was actually said, because this story is bigger than just two politicians. This is about the standards we set for our leaders and the kind of discourse we accept in Zambian politics. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change how you see this controversy. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, it's been quite an eventful week here in Zambia, and, today we're going to dive into something that has absolutely sent shockwaves through the political establishment. This is one of those stories where the lines between politics, identity, and constitutional law collide in the most explosive way possible. Our lead story today, a veteran politician's words ignite a firestorm. A former diplomat breaks his silence. And a nation watches as one of its oldest political parties tears itself apart, not over policy, not over ideology, but over blood, heritage, and the very definition of what it means to be Zambian. Picture this, a pre-recorded television program. An experienced anchor. A former Secretary General with decades of political experience. And yet, somehow, words so inflammatory, so constitutionally questionable, so deeply offensive to the fabric of Zambian unity that they would air on national television. How does that happen? Who allowed it? And more importantly, why? When does political rivalry cross the line into something darker? When does questioning a leader's qualifications become an attack on their very existence? When does internal party drama become a threat to the multicultural foundation of an entire nation? Can a political party survive when its own members weaponize ethnicity and heritage against each other? Can a democracy function when leaders who once stood shoulder to shoulder now question each other's right to even be called Zambian? What happens when the Constitution is invoked not as a shield for rights, but as a sword to disqualify opponents? And who pays the price when racial and ethnic divisions are exploited for political gain? Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba has answers. And they're not gentle. Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light on the evening of Thursday, December 5, 2025, when Diamond TV aired a pre-recorded episode of Diamond Live, a political discussion program hosted by veteran anchor Andrew Mwansa. The guest was Honorable Davies Mwila, former Secretary General of the Patriotic Front and a longtime power broker within Zambia's opposition movement. Mwila had served as Member of Parliament for Chipolai for 10 years and had held the prestigious position of Minister of Home Affairs under the previous government. The program appeared routine at first. The Patriotic Front has been embroiled in internal disputes for weeks, with multiple factions vying for control ahead of a now-postponed party convention. Acting President Given Lubinda had recently made controversial decisions to remove several party officials from the Central Committee, including Mwila himself, along with Brendan Irenda and Emmanuel Pankanta. It was in this context of factional warfare that Mwila made his remarks. But what he said went far beyond typical political sparring. Appearing on the show, Mwila questioned the very nationality of Given Lubinda, the man currently serving as PF acting president. According to multiple sources and video clips circulating online, Mwila stated, "We don't know whether Lubinda's father is Zambian or what. We don't know where he comes from. Where is he going to get the votes from?" He went further, describing Lubinda as Scottish, not Zambian, and questioning how a white man could be elected president. In another clip, he allegedly compared Lubinda to former Vice President Guy Scott, who was constitutionally barred from assuming the presidency due to the parentage clause that existed at the time. The remarks spread rapidly across social media on December 6. By Friday afternoon, Zambian time, political commentators, legal experts, and ordinary citizens were reacting with shock and outrage. Then, on the evening of December 6, 2025, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, a former Zambian diplomat and influential political voice, issued a statement. It was measured in tone but unequivocal in condemnation. And with that statement, what had been a factional squabble became a national conversation about racism, constitutional law, and the soul of Zambian democracy. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. Ambassador Mwamba did not mince words in his statement, released publicly on December 6, 2025. He began with the emotional impact. I watched the segment with disbelief, Mwamba said, describing Mwila's remarks directed at PF acting President Given Lubinda as not only inflammatory but deeply offensive. He emphasized that this was not a live broadcast error. The show was pre-recorded. There was time for editorial review. There was time to prevent this from reaching the airwaves. Because the show was pre-recorded and hosted by an experienced anchor, the station bore a clear editorial responsibility to excise such content before broadcast, Mwamba stated firmly. To air it was not oversight, it was negligence. Mwamba then addressed the substance of Mwila's claims. At the heart of the controversy was the insinuation that Given Lubinda is constitutionally ineligible to lead the PF or stand as a presidential candidate due to questions about his parentage. The ambassador went straight to the Constitution. It must be made very clear that Honorable Lubinda is suitably qualified to stand as President of the Patriotic Front and to stand as a candidate for President of the Republic of Zambia. He cited Article 100(1) of the Republican Constitution and the Electoral Process Act No. 35 of 2016, both of which, as he explained, affirm that eligibility requires only that a candidate be a citizen of Zambia by birth or descent. He noted that Lubinda meets this threshold unequivocally. Mwamba then provided essential historical context. He recalled that the so-called parentage clause, which once required both parents of a presidential candidate to be Zambian, was introduced in the 1996 constitutional amendment under President Frederick Chiluba. That clause was later challenged in the landmark 1998 Supreme Court case Lewanika v. Chiluba. The court interpreted the provision generously, Mwamba explained, recognizing that individuals who acquired citizenship at independence in 1964, or would have had they been alive, satisfied the spirit of the law. But the crucial point came next. Critically, Mwamba reminded the public, this clause was fully repealed in 2016, rendering any reliance on it today not just outdated but misleading. He then turned his attention to Mwila directly, highlighting the irony and the hypocrisy. Honorable Mwila served 10 years as MP for Chipolai and as Minister of Home Affairs, Mwamba said. The ignorance displayed by Honorable Mwila is either deliberate and driven by malice or would display a low standard for a leader of such caliber. But Mwamba's most powerful language was reserved for the constitutional and moral dimension of Mwila's words. We are a republic founded on multi-ethnic, multiracial, multi-religious, and multicultural unity, Mwamba stressed, quoting Article 4(3) of the Constitution. He further invoked Article 11, which guarantees equal enjoyment of rights irrespective of race, origin, political opinion, color, creed, sex, or marital status. Then came the defining line. Remarks that weaponize ethnicity or perceived racial identity, he warned, are not political critique, they are constitutional violations disguised as opinion. Mwamba did not stop at legal analysis. He connected this to the legacy of the party Mwila claims to represent. Honorable Mwila's remarks have offended the spirit, multicultural, multitribal, unity, promoted by both President Michael Sata and President Edgar Lungu, who worked closely with Honorable Lubinda. Such remarks may fracture the love, unity, and comradeship we have enjoyed as a family in the Patriotic Front. Finally, he issued a direct call. I therefore call upon Honorable Davies Mwila to immediately apologize for those remarks and behave as a leader befitting the positions he previously held and that both the party and the country privileged him to hold. He concluded with a warning. Racist remarks are an affront to the law, and Honorable Mwila has also offended the law. Mwila's own words, as reported in various outlets, were stark. In the Diamond TV interview, he allegedly said, "How do you elect a white man as president? Where in Zambia have you seen that? His father is a white man. You don't know. His father is Scottish. Do you know where he originally comes from? Even if you say Lubinda is Zambian,
he is not an indigenous Zambian. He is not different from Guy Scott.
And in another interview with Newsdiggers, Mwila reportedly doubled down. We don't know whether the father is Zambian or what, we don't know. Where is he going to get the votes from? He's just wasting our time.
These are not statements taken out of context.
These are not misspeaks.
These are deliberate assertions, aired publicly, and now part of the national record.
Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. So, what does this all mean? What are the broader implications of this incident for Zambian politics, for the Patriotic Front, and for the country's democratic future? First, let's talk about the legal dimension. Mwamba's invocation of Articles 4 and 11 of the Zambian Constitution is not rhetorical flourish.
These are foundational provisions. Article 4(3) explicitly declares Zambia to be a multi-ethnic, multiracial, multi-religious, and multicultural republic. Article 11 guarantees equality before the law regardless of race, origin, or color. Legal experts have noted that remarks which weaponize race or ethnicity for political disqualification could, in theory, constitute hate speech under Zambian law. While it remains to be seen whether any legal action will be pursued, the constitutional arguments are clear. Second, there's the editorial responsibility of Diamond TV. Mwamba was right to point out that this was a pre-recorded program. Unlike a live broadcast, there was time for review, time for reflection, time to ask, should this air? The decision to broadcast it anyway raises serious questions about media ethics and the role of broadcasters in either amplifying or mitigating harmful political rhetoric. Third, the political fallout within the Patriotic Front. The PF is already fractured. Multiple presidential aspirants. Suspended conventions. Factional warfare. Given Lubinda's camp versus Brian Mundable's camp versus Makibi Zulu's faction. And now this. Miles Sampa, an ally of Lubinda, has already fired back at Mwila, accusing him of being responsible for PF's 2021 electoral defeat. Other voices within the party are calling for de-escalation and unity, but Mwila's remarks have made that exponentially harder. Some party elders, including former Vice President Emmanuel Mwamba and Ambassador Paul Lumbai, have attempted to broker peace, but Mwila's inflammatory language has poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Fourth, the timing. With the 2026 general elections approaching, Zambia's political landscape is heating up. The PF, once the ruling party, is now trying to rebuild and present a credible opposition to President Hakainde Hichilema's UPND government. Internal cohesion is essential. Instead, the party is now embroiled in a public scandal over race, identity, and constitutional eligibility. Fifth, the broader societal question: what does it mean to be Zambian? Zambia has prided itself on being a relatively stable, peaceful, and ethnically harmonious nation in a region often marked by conflict. The country's first president, Kenneth Kaunda, championed the slogan "One Zambia, One Nation." The Constitution enshrines this principle. Mwila's remarks, whether intentional or not, have reopened wounds that many Zambians thought had been healed. They've raised questions about who belongs, who can lead, and what criteria are acceptable for determining eligibility. Ambassador Mwamba's response has been widely praised by civil society groups, legal scholars, and ordinary Zambians who see his statement as a defense of constitutional values. But there are also those who argue that internal PF politics should remain internal, and that public condemnation only deepens the party's crisis. As of now, Davies Mwila has not issued a public apology. Diamond TV has not issued a statement. Given Lubinda's camp has remained relatively quiet, perhaps calculating that silence is the best response to self-inflicted wounds by their opponents. But the damage is done. The conversation has shifted. And Zambia is watching. So there you have it, viewers. A political controversy that goes far beyond internal party squabbles. A constitutional debate about identity, citizenship, and equality. And a reminder that words matter, especially when they come from those who have held power and who seek to hold it again. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba has drawn a line in the sand. He has said, clearly and unequivocally, that certain forms of political rhetoric are not just distasteful, they are unconstitutional. They are dangerous.
and they must be rejected.
Whether Davies Mwila will apologize, whether Diamond TV will address its editorial lapse, whether the Patriotic Front can find a path to unity, these questions remain unanswered.
But one thing is certain, Zambia is at a crossroads.
And how its leaders, its media, and its citizens respond to moments like this will shape the country's democratic future.
Thank you so much for watching today's edition of InspirAfrica Official. I want to hear from you. What do you think about Ambassador Mwamba's response? Should Davies Mwila apologize? What does this mean for the Patriotic Front and for Zambian politics as a whole? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a respectful, thoughtful conversation. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. I'll be back tomorrow with more news, more analysis, and more of the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay proud to be African. This is Nakash, signing off.